This is Miss Lauren from the Lawrence branch, and today we are going to have fun with science and candy. I found some really yummy experiments that are going to teach us some cool science facts and use candy as one of the ingredients. Let's get started. So our first experiment is called gummy bear osmosis. Now, osmosis is a chemical term that basically means the movement of water, but don't worry about that yet. We'll explain it more later. Let's talk about how you set up this experiment. We need gummy bears, of course, and what we're going to do is put the gummy bear into different solutions, so different environments, and see what happens to it. We'll see if the water moves into the gummy bear or moves out of the gummy bear, and the gummy bear will either get bigger or smaller. So we need our gummy bears. We also need some bowls to set up our experiment. And then we need our solution. So we are going to do a solution of just plain water. We're going to do a salt water solution, which I'll show you how to make, as well as a sugar solution. And finally, we're also going to try it with vinegar and see what happens. So once we let the gummy bears sit in these solutions, we're going to see what happens to them and see if it changes the size of the gummy bear or the shape of the gummy bear. A solution is a mixture of two or more substances that stays evenly mixed together. So in order to make our salt solution, we're going to start with 1 cup of water, and we're going to need to heat it up because when you heat it up, it makes things dissolve much faster. So we have 1 cup of water. I'm going to turn on our heat. And then we're going to add our salt in. Since we're using the stove, this is obviously a good experiment for your grown-ups to help you with. As you make your solution, it'll slowly begin to turn clear, which means that the thing that we added has dissolved into it. It's okay if it's a little bit cloudy. It just means you've added a lot of either salt or sugar. I have my salt solution here and my sugar solution there. So once we have it pretty much made into a solution and it's pretty clear, we're going to take it off the heat and then let it cool before we add our gummy bears to it. Okay, now that our solutions are all made, we're ready to set up the experiment. I labeled each one because once you add the solution, they're pretty much clear and they all kind of look the same. So we're going to have vinegar, sugar water solution, plain water, and salt water solution. So let me pour them, each into their bowl. You just want to have enough so that the gummy bears will be covered by the solution. Now I'm going to add 2 gummy bears to each one. Now we just sit and let them wait. I'm going to check them every few hours just to see what's happening, but I'll let you know how long I let them wait to see what the final change is. Before we look at our final results, let's figure out why this happened. So gummy bears are made up of something called gelatin, like you see in Jell-O. When they're made, gelatin and water are heated up and mixed together. After the mixture cools, most of the water leaves the candy and the bear becomes gummy or chewy. Here are the gummy bears that were placed in plain water. As you can see, compared to an unaffected gummy bear, the ones in the solution got huge. Why did this happen? Since there isn't a lot of water in the gummy bears, when it's placed in a solution, the water moves into the gummy bear through osmosis. Basically, the water is moving to even stuff out. Let me show you. Here we have our little gummy bear with little water in it. When we place it into the solution that has lots of water in it, the water rushes into the bear and the bear gets bigger. Here are the bears that were placed in salt water. Let's see how these compare to an original gummy bear. So it looks like they got slightly smaller and the color was changed as well. So why did this happen? Our gummy bears start out with a little bit of water but no salt inside. Now when they are placed into a solution that contains a lot of salt, the little bit of water that's actually inside the gummy bear will come out of the gummy bear into the solution and the gummy bear will get a little bit smaller. Here are the gummy bears that were placed in a sugar solution. Let's see how they compare to the original gummy bear. So they actually got a little bit bigger. Now, why did this happen? We start off with our bear that has a lot of sugar inside. When we placed into our sugar solution, the bear got bigger. So what this means is that there must be more sugar inside the bear than in the water solution, and osmosis is trying to rush water into the bear to even it out. And here are our final gummy bears, which were placed in the vinegar solution. As you can see, they definitely changed shape as compared to the original bear. I believe that the acid is probably breaking down the gelatin. These were like a big blob of jello, basically. Also, please note, I wouldn't eat these gummy bears at this point. Some of them are going to taste horrible. Vinegar and gummy bears? No thank you. But save the rest from your bag for snacking. All right, I know it's blurry, but can you tell what candy this is? What candy has the little M on it? It's an M&M. Raise your hand if you've had M&Ms before. We love M&Ms. So have you ever thought about whether it's possible to take that little M off of the candy? We're gonna try today. We're gonna try to remove the M from the M&M. The materials for this experiment are super easy. Obviously, you need some M&Ms. So grab yourself a bag because I don't think you're gonna want to eat it after it's been in this experiment. You're gonna need some to snack on later. So grab some M&Ms, and the only other thing you need is a bowl with some water in it. That's it. Now the setup for this experiment is also super easy. We have our bowl with water, and all we're gonna do is place our M&Ms inside and wait and see what happens. I'm gonna do a few and see which ones we can remove the M from. As you can see, the M doesn't float off immediately. First, the color dissolves off the M&M from the dye coating. Eventually, the shell is dissolved and the M floats to the top of the water. This process took between 20 and 30 minutes to occur. Let's talk about the science behind why this happens. The candy-colored shell of the M&M is water-soluble. This means it will dissolve when placed in water, and you can see this happen right away when you put it in the water and see the color come off of the candy and go into the water. The little M is actually made out of edible paper, kind of like you would see on a cake. It is not as water-soluble, so it does not dissolve in the water, and instead, when the candy shell dissolves, the M floats free to the top. Do you think the M will eventually dissolve? Try an experiment and see if you can find out. So for our last experiment, we are going to perform a chromatography on the candy nerds. Chromatography is a big word, and basically what it means is separating substances. You could use chromatography to separate colors into different pigments. We're actually going to use it today to separate the base of the candy from the color dye coating on the candy. And it actually makes some really pretty artwork too. So the materials that you'll need to do this experiment are obviously some nerds. You could use any kind of candy that has a color coating on it. A coffee filter. This is the medium that we're going to put our nerds on and that the chromatography is going to occur on. Coffee filters are great because it'll soak up the water and it'll allow the dye to actually move throughout the coffee filter. A spray bottle with some water and a paper plate. To set up this experiment, it's really easy. All you need to do is put your coffee filter down on your paper, and then we're going to add some nerds. Put them all around. And now all we need to do is to spray our water onto the nerds. I like to make sure that it's really soaked in and then just let it sit there for a little bit. And what's happening is the water is beginning to dissolve the candy, and so the dye from the coating goes onto the coffee filter. After it's soaked for a couple minutes, you can dump your nerds into the trash. I wouldn't want to eat them at this point. You can also add a little bit more water to help spread the colors out more. And here's our final product after the coffee filter has dried. Thanks for joining me today, guys. See you next time. Bye.